You could tell me that you have my childhood dog in the back of a van, gun to its head, and I could not find it in me to have the courage to lie and say that I am excited for this movie. This looks so unfinished, yet at the same time, overly polished, clinically tested, market focused. This movie is so clinically sterile, you could press it down into a pill and take it as a daily supplement. It did not used to be like this. This used to be something that was like relatively cool and fun to enjoy. Trailers would come out and people would be like, hey, that looks like a fucking good movie. Like, let's go see that next weekend. Now, you have to like preface a conversation about a Marvel movie by going, it was actually pretty good. Don't get me wrong. Just wait a minute. It's actually really good. Hear me out. There's no joy. There's no joy being expressed anywhere in any of the scenes of this trailer. It looks like a complete mess. I think at this point, we still don't even know what the plot is relatively, which is weird because we've gone through so many different iterations of what that plot should look like. It's about the multiverse. I could give less of a fucking shit about the multiverse at this point. It started out as like a novel, cool idea that people were like, multiple universes, bringing back the old characters. That seems kind of fun. Now, I'm like, I tilt my head back and I fucking sigh every time they bring it up because it's so tried. It's so fucking tired. And it doesn't mean anything. It's not fun or exciting. People begging for characters like Blade to finally get their movie. People begging for like a Shang-Chi sequel. In a just world where the company isn't being run by people who are afraid of taking a risk, we would have a Blade movie out already with a sequel on the way. We would have 3 Shang-Chi movies because Shang-Chi was really, really good. And we would have a movie in development called The Ghost Rider and Moon Knight. And people would go see those because that's something different. It's something so fundamentally different from what the last like 30 movies they've done with all the Avengers bullshit. Would it be to take a bunch of different characters that people haven't really seen in a while, people that have never heard of, and turn those into your front runners? Like, look at the lineup for Avengers and tell me that anybody's excited for this. How many times am I going to have to say goodbye to the X-Men? Kevin Feige says no less than 5. And at some point, I have to start, like, blaming the actors for taking these jobs and not, like, looking at the script and saying, I'm not going to be doing this. I'm not walking into a movie with an unfinished script. I'm not walking in and take the Harrison Ford fucking approach. You can't make me say this shit. Go back and rewrite it, which supposedly there wasn't, like, a completed script for this movie, which is never a fucking good sign. But the point that I'm trying to make is, like, it used to not be this way. Like, we've quickly forgotten in less than 10 years how much people loved MCU and like Avengers movies. You go back and like rewatch the first Avengers movie and it's like, it's a mess, but it's a lot of fun. It has a lot of heart because at that time there was like literally no expectations for this sort of thing. It was such a massive gamble. People just weren't sure if that was going to be something that would succeed so greatly. And obviously, like, we've all grown up, our tastes have changed and we're into different things. But it's like after Endgame, a lot of people were saying this is probably the point in time where I get off the boat because most of these movies are very alike. They're all heading towards this, this major climax in the story. It's a great time to get off. And so then Marvel's like, well, there's actually more points beyond this story. We don't actually need to end the universe here. We have so many other comic lines and different villains and heroes to uplift. And it was like, okay, you've earned quite a bit of goodwill with us. You have a really great brand. People are very dedicated and loyal to the MCU. Let's see where you have to go. And then they were like, okay, first of all, you need to watch a minimum of 4 TV shows to know where we're going with the universe. And that was the first big red flag. WandaVision started out great, had a terrible ending, but people were like, you know what? They made Endgame. It's all it starts with like, well, they made Endgame. It's a whatever ending, but overall, it's a pretty creative idea. Then they do Loki, they do Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And it's like, how does this all connect to whatever the next Avengers movie is? Because we know that that's what they're kind of building up to is another one. They had problems in the way. Chadwick Boseman passed away. I think that threw a really big wrench in things. But it started to become really clear that they just didn't have the same vision that they had for like the last 10 years, the last like 20 movies to get to the next major arc. And then they introduced the multiverse, which was like it was a really big word at first. It was a cool idea. And then it just became more and more convoluted as to like what the multiverse actually is. Because they bring back the X-Men, they bring back the Spider-Man, they're bringing back all these different old actors from different franchises and movies and going, this is part of the multiverse. It's all the different movies you watched before. Isn't that really cool? And I'm going like, nobody fucking gives a shit about Elektra. Nobody gives a shit. Okay, like again with the X-Men thing, how many times do I have to say goodbye to Wolverine? They brought him back and they're like, it's supposed to be like a one-off, and then that movie did really good. So like, we're actually gonna keep Wolverine. We're not gonna recast. We're gonna bring back all the X-Men, despite the fact that these guys are all like in their 60s to 90s, trying to play characters that are supposed to be, in their 30s to 40s. All of the cool projects that I think would have taken this a lot further. Like there was Werewolf by Night, which was a really, really cool idea. I thought that was like a really great concept. These little shorts that bring you into the world of like a character that nobody really knows about, kind of doing what they were doing at the beginning with Iron Man, which was taking like a D-lister and going, let's turn this into a really compelling piece of storytelling. These are all like the sidekick characters and people who are still in contracts, and then people who were suckered in. They were going, oh, the Avengers movies did really well. That seems like a really good paycheck. That could really boost my image. And if you watch the trailer, it looks like nobody wants to be there. Everyone looks tired because of the fact that they probably weren't on a set with other people while they're filming it. They're filming with a stand-in because nobody wants to tell them what's in the script. You could have said after Endgame, we're going to do a complete turnaround. We're going to pivot and go from the large-scale stuff to trying to tell more intimate stories with different characters, and then try to do a lot deeper character studies, because one of the biggest issues most people even had with the MCU prior to Endgame was that there's not a whole lot of depth for characters. It really was just paper cut, run-of-the-mill assembly line movies. The movies are very similar to one another. Something like Thunderbolts comes out and it actually has quite a bit of originality, some novelty to it. I would even go as far to say like Multiverse of Madness. Sam Raimi sleptwalked through that whole movie, but it's a lot of fun and it's so different in its energy to what the other movies look like post Endgame. Again, Shang-Chi has so much great energy to it. It was directed so well that it like amazes me that it's been almost like 6 years since we've even seen him. Just like mismanagement after mismanagement, it got to the point where like the Fantastic Four came out, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I love the Fantastic Four. I was excited for that shit. And then the only reason why people went to go watch it is because it looked so different from everything else that they were making. Like they were just kind of teasing you with this idea of like, we could do retrofuturism, we could do the John Romita look, we could do something really close to the comics that people read from back in the day. We're not actually going to do that though. We're going to do this like grounded realism shit. And it's so boring. It's actually boring. I don't know how they're going to make this movie with like 60 people in the cast interesting to us to watch, when one, we've already said goodbye to like a third of the cast 4.5, 5 times. The other half of the cast is people remaining from the Infinity Saga who were supposed to be legacy characters that took over, and now they're all being sidelined for the original 6. There's no heavy hitters behind this. It's supposed to lead into Secret Wars, and then they're already saying it doesn't even matter because Secret Wars is going to lead into a soft reboot of the universe that you're watching right now. So everything is inconsequential, but you're supposed to still pay your money to go see this shit in fucking infinityvision or whatever. Some bullshit random screen standard that they made up for their own movie because they couldn't get IMAX screens, because Dune's gonna outperform this probably 2-1. People who are walking into Dune know that the movie's gonna be at least competent. This looks as if they were waking up every day with an idea in their head that they had written onto paper in a fever in the middle of the night, and that's gonna be what their shoot schedule is for the day. In a world where they have access to so many different characters who would make a great addition to a universe that people are going, why the fuck am I still tuned into this? They choose to do nothing. They choose to do less than nothing. They choose to just keep putting out mid-product after mid-product and going, we have the goodwill of Endgame. People are still going to see this. And now they're flopping. And all the other movies they're making are also flopping because they're not making anything original. They're not taking any risks. I think eventually at this point, it's going to have to be like a bankruptcy scare before they start making anything new. I think this movie is going to be this year's like Rise of Skywalker. I think people are going to walk in and go, I'm so hopeful that this is at least halfway decent. I'm hopeful that this is something that I can at least defend to other people. And they're going to walk out and they're going to go, why the fuck do I keep falling for this shit? Why do I keep ending up in this situation? It almost feels like a toxic relationship where it's like, why do I keep getting strung along with one decent project and then having to sit through so many hours of bullshit in order to get to the next one? It's like movie EOMM.